Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you doing? I hope you're doing well. I'm feeling pretty good. I may look a little tired. I get up early as hell, but got a new webcam. It's pretty fancy. Thought I had to celebrate the new webcam with a little bit of drip. I got my plugs on. Got the nice dagger earring kind of dangling, On the left side, I may sing about banging dudes quite a bit in those parodies, but, I got a wife. just throwing that out there.
Supreme victory!
I'm actually going to take it off. I feel like it's just too distracting. It's going to be dangling around. I like to move my head quite a bit, and I'm like, nah, this is not going to work. But let's talk about Joe Rogan versus Sam Seder now, right? Let's talk about some interesting stuff that is went down. So to the internet, to a lot of people in the debate space and people in with political commentary, Sam Seder is Baba Yaga. He is the boogeyman. He's the person that he's just loaded with a lot of knowledge, and a lot of people don't want to debate him because a lot of people in the debate space, right, like debate bros and whatnot, a lot of times they're just looking for sweet dunks. They're looking for sweet sound bites. They're not really knowledgeable. They're just trying to humiliate somebody who's not good at debating. And Sam Seder is very calm and collected, and you can't really humiliate him, and he usually has really good data. And the thing is, unfortunately, there's a lot of people on the right that they'll never give someone like Sam Seder a chance because you have people like Joe Rogan just calling him a dork. You have Steven Crowder trashing him, saying he's irrelevant and all this stuff, even though Steven Crowder used to debate college kids, just random people. But then, he won't have a debate with Sam Seder because we all know, anyone who's paying attention will know how it will go. It would be a disaster. People like Tim Pool, they're all just like, oh, nope, they won't give him a chance. So then the people that watch those people I just mentioned, they'll never go out of their way to actually check out the Majority Reporter, Sam Seder, or anything like that to try to get a different point of view. There's a lot of these people that try to pretend, like, me, I'm the self-proclaimed radical centrist, ha ha ha, funny. But legitimately, I have to absorb stuff from everywhere and see what makes sense. And you gotta listen to people like this. And a lot of times, they're fucking right, man, because they're going directly from the source, from peer-reviewed, very people that are statisticians that actually care about this stuff. They're in this field. Then you have other people that are just telling you, oh, it's just the woke collective. It's just this, it's just that. Like, oh, it's just trying to put politics into it. But it's like, well, yeah, they're doing that to dissuade you from actually looking into stuff. Because a lot of these people are getting paid by giant corporations or oil tycoons that want you to keep believing that, say, and this is the main topic, that hoarding money is an illness. Because, when you think about hoarding and a hoarder, everything else in the world, every single little thing in the world, if you hoarded it, it's considered an illness. You're crazy. Something's wrong with you. Except for money. Now, the only reason that happened is because you have these rich people that are convincing you. The people that are hoarding so much money are convincing you that it's not a sickness. I bring this up because that is the main topic. So Sam Seder was on Patrick Bet David, or I think that's his name. I might screw that up, but I may have unfairly called him an idiot last time. I don't really have that much of opinion on him. I just know he has a lot of wacky people on this podcast, and ValueTainment seems a little sketchy. But major props for having Sam Seder on, having a different points of views, not just having crazy people from the right or whatever. You have these people that some other people perceive that him being crazy on the left. I'm like, he wants to hear different perspectives, and I'm like, I appreciate that, because there's a lot of people that will not do that. They will not give their audience the opportunity to possibly learn something, have a different perspective. Like, that is me. I've always wanted to hear both sides, and I'm not even saying both sides are right, because that's what people, the propagandists always say about centrism, whether it's been, oh, this is just people trying to take from both sides and compromise. So I'm like, no, you misunderstand. Just being in the center, we're actually just listening, and then you make a decision on what makes the most sense. What is the real data? What is the real information? That's how I've garnered things. And there's people that are on the right that are like, oh, you're a leftist, you're this and this and that. I'm like, I've never cared about labels and stuff like that, but when it comes to things that we're talking about, especially taxation and taxing the rich, yeah, people on the left are 100% correct because they're just using actual data and not just getting their talking points from oil tycoons and big corporations that are paying lobbyists and all these rich motherfuckers. Because that's what's happening. You have all these people that are just paying and they're basically lying to you. So you never find out that, like, wait a minute, it's kind of absurd to just hoard this much money. So if you guys are completely in the dark, let me kind of start from Sam Seder talking on the Patrick Bet David podcast, whatever. He's essentially talking about taxation and saying, yeah, 90%, you should be taxed 90% after you've made $3 million. After $3 million, every dollar needs to be taxed like at 90%. And then to a lot of people, it sounds absurd, right? Like on the surface. And the reason why it sounds absurd is because of what has been drilled into your head. You know, and the thing that also is very fascinating is how much rich people have convinced, like, middle class and lower class, poor people essentially, to these people, convinced them that it's totally fine for these rich ass motherfuckers to just get away with paying next to nothing. Big corporations just getting their taxes waived out of loopholes, doing all this tricky, shady shit because they have enough money to do it, and then leaving us with the bill. We have to pay so much in taxes. Me as an self-employed, I have to pay so much. And then yet again, there's people that will listen to Joe Rogan respond to Sam Seder and say, this guy's a dork, he's insane, doesn't know what he's talking about, and agree with him. They will agree with Joe because they like Joe. They're not even thinking about anything like that. And it's just silly because Sam, all he's doing is proposing something that has already existed. Like Joe says, oh, this is never going to work. Where's this money going to go? There just is. I'm like, dude, this has already been a thing. The reason Joe Rogan and people that listen to him and other people on the right that don't know this is because the people that they listen to either know and they refuse to tell the truth, or they don't know either. Like, let's just talk about, like, returning to the olden times, like the whole MAGA thing. The whole point of that is make America great again. Oh, when was it great? And then people will point to, like, the 50s after World War II and all this stuff. They have this fantasy land of, like, of this idea of, like, this was when everything was great, you know. And, well, okay, that would also include the tax rates too. And what Sam Seder is proposing, when things were very prosperous, there was a tax rate like that on the rich. Obviously, after time, there were rich cocksuckers that tried to just dismantle it, and you had people like Reagan who did a great job to fuck over poor people. Right. And then all of a sudden, the top people made more and more and more money and were able to do shadier and shadier things. We had things that were in place. You've probably heard people mention things like Glass-Steagall, and then, oh, we get rid of this. And then you always hear people arguing in Congress saying, we need to do this. You got to let these big businesses and these big banks take chances and do all this stuff. Taking the chances is how we're going to grow and all this shit. And then making sure that they never talk about the real shit, the real solutions, things that were actually working before, of people paying more because it is absolutely ridiculous to hoard so much money. Now, that's one thing that I kind of want to really hammer on, because to the average person, for some reason, they don't think $3 million is a lot of money. For some reason, they've been convinced that it's not. You know, most people in the world, in the vast majority of people, never make anywhere near close to $3 million in their lifetime. They just won't. It's just not, the world's just not set up for like that. It's not set up for people to be, everyone to be that prosperous. You know, Joe Rogan talks something about more like hardworking people, meritocracy. He talks about stuff like that, but that obviously isn't the fucking problem. Like, if you just think about it for more than a minute, you know that there's deeper problems than just, oh, there's just people lazy. The reason why you don't have millions of dollars is because you're lazy. When there's so many people, there's a lot of luck. Like, I would say Joe Rogan is an example of someone who is lucky, but also he grinded to get a lot of money. He did grind to get his money. It wasn't inherited, right? His brand was so popular that Spotify was willing to give him hundreds of millions of dollars. People speculate and say he got $100 million. I believe he got way more. Why I believe he got way more, there's a podcast, Bill Simmons has a podcast on there, and allegedly he got $250 million to be on Spotify. And a lot of people are probably listening to this and being like, who the hell is Bill Simmons? Exactly. Joe Rogan, #1 podcast in the world. You think he would get a lot more than Bill Simmons? I speculate where the $100 million came from was that he was getting $100 million a year for 4 years, meaning he got $400 million. I think that's the real numbers. That's complete speculation, but I just think that's more realistic when you compare it to what some other deals that you've heard behind the scenes, things that you weren't supposed to hear, but other people under Spotify leak some stuff, and then so you can just kind of compare and contrast where I'm like, okay, Joe Rogan's the biggest podcast in the world, clearly had to get more than $100 million, just by that logic alone. You don't know that money, but then you think about the money itself. It's how much money is, even if it's just $100 million, that is so much money. And the thing that people just do, they start hoarding it and they pretend like it's not a sickness. They pretend that it's not an illness, like anything else in this world. You know, like you guys saw the earrings. Imagine I had 100 million earrings just stored up throughout my house. Y'all would be like, this guy's insane. Anything else I can just, here's my glasses. Hundreds of millions of glasses, my athletic greens, hundreds of millions of like y'all would be like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Anything else I can just see, y'all would be like, well, this is crazy. But then when it comes to money, all of a sudden it's like it's totally fine, even though you can't really spend all of that money, and even if you try after a while, you're just hoarding stuff. Right? If you buy $100 million worth of stuff, you're hoarding stuff. Now, if you're a giant business and you're spending all tons of money to expand your businesses, it's a little different. But we're talking about people just buying shit and hoarding money, and it's kind of nuts. Like people don't really quantify these things, and I feel like that's the biggest problem. I feel like there's too many people convincing you. Like, you guys remember that song? Bruno Mars and Travis McCoy. It's like, I want to be a billionaire so fucking bad. Buy all the shit. I'm like, that song, when that song came out, I'm like, this is a very catchy song. But this is so stupid. A billionaire? Like, these got, like, you have all these dumbass people, like, just singing this song, walking around like this, like it's a thing that could possibly just happen. Like, there's just... like, people don't understand how much $1 billion is. And the fact that there's multiple people walking this earth with hundreds of billions of dollars. It's something that you can't actually fathom. And I feel like that's the reason why people just let this stuff skirt over. Right? Joe Rogan's a part of it. He has hundreds of millions of dollars. He doesn't want to give away a lot of that money, even though he's never going to spend all of that money. Even his kids aren't going to spend all that money. At a certain point, that money is going to become worth way less because of inflation. So, if anything, you're going to try to invest as much money in whatever you're going to do. And usually their investments is always, the point is to make more money. And they're just going to make more and more and more. And then it's like, well, now, what do you understand what I'm saying? You're just hoarding money at this point. And there's people that just, they defend it because they're like, well, it's their money. They can do with what they want. And I'm like, yeah, at a technicality, that is absolutely 100% true. But you got to ask yourself the question, is that a moral person? Like, really, like, when it comes down to it, is that a moral person hoarding something that you know that could save so many fucking people? You know, there's a lot of people that says that's not my problem. And again, you're 100% correct. But it's just the way that I see it. You know, I'm speaking from, you know, just me personally, and obviously there's a lot of people that feel the same way that I do. But I just feel like, bro, like, how could you live with yourself knowing that you could save so many fucking lives? How do you live with yourself? And, you know, I've had conversations like this before. People have asked me, like, well, would you give away all your money? I'm like, to a certain extent. If I had a bunch of money, we can do this. Let's do this. Imagine having $1 billion. Imagine $1 billion getting thrusted upon you. Imagine Elon Musk is feeling charitable, but let's just, you know, for the sake of this fake fantasy thing, he's like, hey Derek, I like what you've been saying. I like the cut of your jib. I'm gonna give you $1 billion. You know, like, after, like, just a billy. I'm gonna give you $1.2 billion just so after taxes you'll have like $1 billion or whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. So you straight up just have $1 billion. I'm like, holy shit. So what do I do with $1 billion? First and foremost, I'm at least distributing 95% of it. At least. I'm getting rid of it in a way that making sure my family and everything, community, all this stuff that I care about is doing well, and just trying to find the best way forward to use it in a way that I can really help out people, make a dent in something. 1,000% no cap. No cap. That is something that I would 100% do, especially because when we're talking about $1 billion, guys, $1 billion. So I have 5% left of that. Guys, that's still $50 million. What the fuck am I going to do with $50 million? Let me tell you something. I don't make a lot of money. Me doing this entrepreneur online shit, I make money to live comfortably. And then, now that my wife and by the way, congratulations to her. She's got a green card. But like, she has her income. We can live comfortably. And there's only a few extra things that I want. Like, okay, eventually get my own house, brand new car, brand new truck. I want the House of the Dead Scarlet Dawn arcade machine. A few little trinkets here and there. Like, what is all that shit gonna cost? Like, that's under $1 million. So what? Let's just say $1 million set aside for that shit. I still have $49 million to go. The fuck am I gonna do with all that money? You understand like how much $1 billion is? And you have people that have tens of billions, hundreds of billions. And then when you actually think about how much money that is, you're like, how do you not see that as a mental illness? How do you not see that as if you had that much of anything else? Like I've said before, it's just insanity. And then couple it with what that money could do for people. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that to me, that counts for something. It really does. It really does. But, it's one of those things where you have to know that there is no heaven and hell. Like, this isn't, like, if these people believed in any of this shit whatsoever, I mean, they would be fucking frightened. They would think about, like, rich people aren't going to the kingdom of heaven. Joel Osteen and Kenneth Copeland, they're not going. Kenneth Copeland's a fucking demon. Like, the fact that people even listen to this guy is just, like, he is it's just absolutely insane to me. It's the craziest thing to me. But you see where I'm getting at. These motherfuckers are just piling money, flying jets, lying to people, and having them donate their hard-earned cash, just raking all this money and pay no taxes and all this shit. And you really think that if there wasn't a heaven and hell, you genuinely think these people would be going to heaven? When you know that rich people, these hoarders, these gluttons, are obviously sinful and clearly would not be welcome. Yet you worship these people? You say you're God-fearing and you worship Trump? Do you not understand the cognitive? Of course you don't. You don't understand the cognitive dissonance. You never will. It's fucking sad, but I know this shit isn't real. That's why it's happening. That's why these people hoard the money and they don't give a flying fuck. That's why they do everything to lobby to make sure that their taxes always stay insanely low. And middle and lower class people like us are fucked in the ass. That's how it goes. And people like Joe is join the club. Joe has some major cognitive dissonance going on to where he understands there's a major problem going on. Joe is compassionate to a certain extent that he sees that there's a problem and something needs to be done. But he also absolutely does not see it as his problem. His thing is to just live his life comfortably as possible, have fun doing it. He's not a religious person. He doesn't think he's going to hell or anything, so it doesn't matter to him. He doesn't think his soul's going to be damned or nothing, so it doesn't matter if he doesn't help out in that way, right? And this is the thing, like, it's not that people need to give all of their fucking money away, but just there were systems in place back then that people contributed more, so people were more prosperous. It was happening. And then you have people like Joe and people he listens to, either, like I said, lying, obstructing the truth, or just completely ignorant. And this is another reason why I just said, like, I'll reiterate, I was an avid listener of the Joe Rogan Experience since 2012. He has fucking changed. Spotify, the money, has changed him. He moved to Texas not because of fucking COVID and all that. Like he couldn't afford paying to stay in California. Obviously he could. But to be like the rest of his rich buddies, move to the place where you can do more shady shit and cut more corners to keep more of your money. Less of the money goes to the people that can actually need it. That's the reason why these people move there. It's not, oh, there's more freedom. Yeah, there's more freedom for you to hoard your money. Straight up. So, I said there's people that are probably going to listen to this. They're going to feel like they're on Joe Rogan's team, even though they're not. You are not on Joe Rogan's team, though. Understand that. Understand that, when you are on team conservative, when you're on team Trump or anything like that, these are the rich elite. Extremely wealthy. Yes, there's people on the left that are wealthy as fuck. Absolutely. But a lot of times, they're not fighting to make people poorer or to keep them poor. There's a lot of people on the left that are absolutely willing to pay all their taxes. See, and this is the thing that I feel like a lot of people always get, they misunderstand. They're like, oh, well, all these people are rich too. It's not even the fact that they're rich, is that they pay their fucking fair share in taxes. And you say fair share is relevant, right? But it's whatever the tax rate that makes sense to help people prosper and to not hoard ridiculous amounts of money. Just pay your fucking share. All these tax waivers and cutting corners and fucking putting your money into offshore accounts so it doesn't actually exist over here, and to do these things where you invest your money into this and then you do all these switcheroos that is happening. The regular people like us don't have the opportunity to do shit like this, and you will sit here and defend this buffoonery. It's crazy. I personally have no problem earning my own money, making my money. I wouldn't have a problem if I became extremely wealthy and I wouldn't cut any fucking corners. Because I'm like, there's people that could use this shit. It's fine. I'm doing all right. If I made just even like 100K more or something, oh my God, I'm sitting pretty. Life is fucking good. I'm taking some real vacations now. You know what I mean? It's just it sucks, man. Like, you guys know that I was gonna go on the Joe Rogan Experience. You guys know that around the time that we were talking, he was not fucking at the point where he's at now. He's just not the same guy. And we all know money changes you, man. We all know that. And it sucks because he's somebody who you thought would appreciate where he came from, being in poverty, being on welfare, SNAP, EBT, or whatever the fuck. And then now it's like, oh man, we can't do universal basic income. It's gotta make everybody fucking lazy. I'm like, yeah, all right, man. Because what are they gonna give everybody $5,000 a month or something? Or is it just gonna be $1,000? Who the fuck do you know is just gonna live off $1,000 a month? Now imagine working a fucking full-time job and also having that extra $1,000. Holy shit, maybe your fucking significant other doesn't have to work anymore. Maybe now you make enough money for you to just work, and now they can stay home and do some shit, hold down the fort, be creative, and maybe invest in other ways. Holy shit, you just opened up avenues that other people never even dreamed of. But no, we can't give it to them because they're gonna be fucking lazy. Fuck you. It's so pitiful. Fuck you. To even fucking assume shit like that. It's just a complete disconnect. There was fucking... He used to actually care about poverty. But when you have that much money, now it's all about protecting that money. And I'll say again, he has every right to do it. He does. But morally, I think it's fucked.